Hey, my name is Eve and welcome back to my workshop once again for part 2 of building a DIY harp. So this episode is all going to be focusing on hopefully cutting out the rest of the pieces and maybe assembling the sound box. I'm going to go with assembling the sound box first because that's going to, I think, take the longest. So let's get started. So off camera, I drew out the pieces that I needed. Using just a straight line. So this is going to be the edges, the sides of the sound box. And then I need to make the front and the back. This one will be a little interesting because I not only need to cut it at a slight angle, I also need to use my router to create some little edges in it, some lips for the wood to sit on. So that's going to be a fun time. It's going to be the first time I try something like that. So we'll just get started. So let's do this. This is a track I built so I can have straight lines every time. As soon as it's I'm not sure if it's going to work. Yeah, well, chain. Okay, so we're not using that. Yeah, look at all that. All this cracking here from this piece of wood. It is pretty warped now, but not ideal. All right, I guess we'll just go with plan B. I actually have an idea to make it a bit easier. I'm going to 5/8 right here. Fights. One done, now we do the same with the other one. Lights. Right here, stop. On the side. Probably the teaching. Yeah. Let's just This one was a little bit harder. A table saw would be a better tool to use this, to do this with, but as you can see, it messed up a little bit there. So I just have to, I'm gonna just go on the grinder, belt grinder, and just sand that down because it's off by quite a bit. So let's do that. All right, so now I need to cut a small groove into each of those pieces with my router. So I'm gonna need to figure out what I need for that, what router bit I need, so I'm gonna go to that. Okay, after a bunch of figuring it out, testing, I finally figured out how I'm going to cut a 1/4 inch deep rivet through all this whole entire thing, and it's with a new router guide that I got for Christmas, so we're gonna use that. Almost the whole thing. Okay, now hopefully this will work. I think it needs to tighten. I'm not sure, but that's not a good sound. Yeah, it loosened up. Okay, so now I need to reset my depth, because that messed it up a bit. 1/4 inch, okay. That's mostly done here. And it did not work properly. Okay, so this is the right depth. Yeah, this is the right depth. So I guess I didn't have it set to the right depth earlier. So let's fix that. I think I'm gonna go to the other spot. Okay, I've moved over to the other spot. So I think I figured out a way to kind of like keep it clamped in space a little bit. I don't know, we'll see how well this works. I'm learning. This is all still new to me. This is the first time I've used this plunger attachment for my router. So hopefully this will work. I think I can use the table for this too, but I don't feel comfortable doing that, especially since I've got this edge guide. So I'm just gonna keep going this way and hopefully it works. Okay, that worked. That's pretty nice. You can see it. Not perfect, but that's pretty good. Now the other side. Okay, that wasn't too bad. All right, I don't have a lot of recording space left, so I'm gonna do this quick. Oh. All right, first part. I will say that as somebody with very little woodworking skills, who is basically just learning how to do all this for the first time, this is a lot. But I'm learning a lot of stuff. So I'm learning how to use these tools that I've had but never really had the chance to use like this before. So yeah, I'm not going to keep going. I should have enough recording space to finish this last piece, and then I'll be done. I want to do something like this here. All right, it's a good example. Oh boy, just a good example of getting better as you practice. The first one took about 45 minutes to figure out how to make everything work. And then now that I've done it, the second one took about 5 minutes. It's not perfect, but that's what finishing it up is for. These two are going to be the soundboards. This part at the back, and then we just go zoop, put some plywood on the front. There's another piece of wood in the front and the back that you glue together so that it fits. Yeah, all in all, pretty good for my first attempt here. Did I do the, I don't think it matters if I did the right side or not. These should match each other. They're a little bit off, but hopefully that won't cause any issues. I have more wood if I need to, but hopefully that'll be good. Anyway, I'm out of space, so I'll be back another day to film some more. All right, we're on day 2 of making the soundboard, and it is minus 51 degrees Celsius outside. So I'm not gonna be in here for very long. It is really cold, even with the heaters going full blast. So I'm gonna see what I can get done. Let's get into it. All right, I think I've got the basic idea down. I have to cut slight more edge out of this side so that I can glue the top and bottom. So we're gonna just do that with a saw. Hopefully it'll work out really well. I don't know, it's the first time I tried this. Okay, that's enough. This is the easy side. The right side, the hard side. Let's figure out how to do this well. All right, that's not too bad. Let's look on this side, see if I did it cut properly. Hey, yeah. All right, that's a pretty nice cut I did there. I'm pretty proud of that. More. Oh man, man. I've got a couple of so I'm going to hold something tightly. My camera. I'll get it. But it's really cool. It's really cool. Oh, that's cool. Not bad. This little saw does a pretty good job. It's a little flexible, which is the point, because it's a flush cut saw. But I just need a little bit, because I don't have the tools that are specialized for this, like a table saw and stuff like that. So I'll just do it this way. I'm going to take a little break, let my hand rest, and I'll come back. All right, since I'm taking a little break from my hand, I'm going to cut. This is for the top and bottom. It is warped to shit, so I'm not going to use this piece of cherry. Unfortunately, I am going to use another piece, part of the sapele, I guess, for the sides. It's the same thickness, but I wanted to use the cherry to make a little contrast or whatever. It's not going to work. So we're going to use this thing. We're going to use this piece. My little pattern here. So what I need is to cut this at a 6-degree angle. And this needs to be straight, so that's fine. So I'm going to have to use my circular saw for this. But I'm going to mark it. Pencil. I'm not actually sure how to cut a 6-degree cut on something this small with this. Like I know I can adjust this, but this gives it in the wrong direction. So I have to cut it this way somehow because I need 6 degrees like that. So it cuts this way. So what I can do is cut it this way and then I guess flip it, right? If I cut it this way with the 6 degree and then I flip the piece, it should have the right angle, right? That's how that works, I think. Because if it's going like this, and then I flip it, then it's going to go the other way. That should work, I think. So now I just have to figure out 6 degrees. 15 is here. 10 here. 10. So go here. About there, I think. It is so cold. God, everything's frozen. Okay, so let's just very... Yeah, that should be good, I think. That looks about right. Cool. Now I need to do the top piece. A piece just came right off of here, so I just had to gonna go further and then do it from this side instead. 6 degrees. Perfect. All right, okay, that's all I can do. It's way too cold. So I'll be back another day to keep working. All right, day, I don't know, 4 or 5 of this project right now. I'm gonna be working on the soundboard again. It's a little bit warm outside today, so that's gonna help with some longevity in this project. So let's get going. All right, so I followed the instruction in the pattern, but the angles on everything are wrong. So either I cut them wrong, or, I mean, that's honestly probably just all it is I cut them wrong somehow. So now I need to fix that. And how do I fix that is a good question. All right, I figured it out. All it took was cutting a new base piece. So I had to cut a new one of these at a different angle. But now, this piece is still a little bit warped, so I'll have to be careful when I screw it in and everything and assemble it. But these are now done and ready to assemble and glue together. I don't know if I'm going to do that now, though, because I'm getting pretty cold already. Mild problem with this wood is it's too hard to sand nicely on the bench grinder, because the belt grinder goes, I guess, too quickly. So all it's doing is burning and charring this wood. So I have no choice but to do it the slow way. I forgot I have a chisel. So, I've got it all clamped up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drill a pole in here on these edges, hopefully just to go right in here so that the nails keep it in place. Figured out why you can't drill it sideways, because it's too thin. So that won't be nice. So hopefully this will work and I'll be able to drill a hole. So fingers crossed, let's get going on this one. Okay, one success, good. Perfect. All right, one done, now for the other side. All right, we're back in the workshop. It's been a couple of weeks since I was last in here, but I'm back. I'm gonna work on the harp some more. I actually got the rest of the hardware for the strings and everything. So once it's all assembled, I'll be able to do all that. But yeah, we'll just get into it and start working. All right, so one of the issues that I've got right now is right here. What I think I did is this is supposed to be all flush. So what I need to actually do is recut this piece and the one at the back again and redo this slot here, because unfortunately the soundboard piece that I put will not sit flush on this if I do it. If I do it like this. So unfortunately, I need to recut these pieces of wood again, which is a pain in the ass because I have already recut these twice now. But I might be able to, I don't know, I could try just cutting a little bit of this off right here to make it a bit lower. I don't even actually tell if I can, what I'm doing here. So right here, I've got this gap, doesn't line up properly. So I don't want to have to recut these. So I'm going to have to try to figure something out because it's the same thing at this end here. This gap just does not line up properly. This one is a little bit closer. So this one I think might be okay, but on this side, the gap does not line up. Whether or not that's because of my failing to assemble it properly or what, I'm not 100% sure. You can also tell that there is a pretty significant gap right about here. There's a pretty significant gap in between. This side is okay, but this one has a pretty big one. So I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do for that. I don't want to have to cut another piece. I have enough wood for it, but if I haven't figured out how to fix this, cutting it's not going to make a difference. So I need to figure out how to fix this first before cutting new pieces happens. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to come back once I've got a plan for it. All right, so I think I've figured out a way to do it. We'll see if it works. But what I'm going to do first is cut the top and bottom of the soundboard and go from there. We'll do that first and then see what I need to do to fix it. I just discovered something while I was measuring to cut. The pattern that I used printed an inch too small in basically one of the main directions. So let me just show you what I've got here. So the patterns I was following have directions on them. And this here is supposed to be 12 inches and 1/16. It is, in fact, 11.5 inches. So actually a little bit less than that. And the actual board that I've got here following those patterns here is about, looking at this deepest part, is about 10 inches and 3/4, but the actual spot where the soundboard needs to sit is 9.25 inches. So because the pattern I was following was a tiny bit off and everything else that I cut was a tiny bit off, this is smaller than it should be. I don't know how big of a difference that's going to make. I don't know if it's going to make a playable instrument or not. That's a big bummer. But I've kind of gone too far. I can't replace everything. I don't have enough materials to make another soundboard like this. I could make another headpiece. I have enough wood for that. But I don't have enough materials to make a new sound box like that. So I think what I'm going to end up doing, as long as the length, actually let me just double check the length. If the length is okay, then I think I can just continue. So let's see, this is 34 and 3/16. It's about a 1/2 inch off. I guess I'm just gonna keep going. Boy, probably should have checked that the dimensions on the pattern were correct before I used the pattern for everything. All right, well, you live and learn. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna keep going. It should still make for a playable harp. I hope, anyway, I guess we'll find out, but we'll keep going. I'll cut out the top and bottom of the plywood and just go from there. So I decided I'm not gonna cut that soundboard piece first. First, I'm gonna cut the top and bottom again to fix that so that I can actually use the pieces I have, and then it'll fit. So we're gonna do that first. So I just cut this line here just to go, and let's go from there. Okay, and then it needed an angle on both of these sides, so we're gonna figure out that angle here. Actually, right here, I almost have the angle correct on this one here, so that's nice. So I just need this one here, so this angle, I don't remember the best way to do that. What I remember, you take a piece of wood to match the angle, and then you kind of just go like that. I don't know if that's the best way to do it. It probably isn't. I'm sure seasoned woodworkers will yell at me for what I did. I'm not a seasoned woodworker. I'm an idiot learning how to do stuff in my garage. But then we match the line here, about 11, and we just cut there. You know what? That's pretty darn close. I'm okay with that. That's much better than I had it before, so I think I can just survive with that. Once it's screwed in, it'll squeeze it, and then the board should cover it. So that should be good. Problem here as well, the angle isn't consistent the entire way through, so it's a little bit off from the top to the bottom, but once you squeeze it, it should be all right. So we're gonna hope that that works. And now the next part is that I need to actually put the, let's see, I'll show you here. I have to put the groove back in here. So the better way will be to actually router it from here, I think. So we're gonna put a depth for how far in I want this to go. And then I'm gonna measure to make sure that it's the correct length on both sides and mark it. Okay, so I will use the router, go about 3/8 of an inch, and I will measure right now how deep it actually needs to go. 1/4 inch, okay. So I'll set, how am I gonna do this? The router table. I have a router table. I can use the router table to set the depth and cut it this way. If I pass it over the router table like that, that should be the best way to do this. I don't actually know. Let's go anyway. Yeah, so I've got a router table here. In theory, I can set the stop here and just gently and carefully do that so that it only cuts those parts. But I've never done that. I want to be careful because I don't want to hurt myself. I think that might be the best way. All right, I guess we're gonna do that. The last time I used this, it actually made my breaker pop because I did not turn off the heater. So I'm gonna turn off the heater this time before I start doing this because there's too much power draw. But first I'm gonna make sure it's not turned on here and lower this to be the right height. I've got the right height here. So now I just need to make sure I only cut a small amount. Take a small pass, measure it, and then do it again and again. I can't keep it consistent. Thankfully, I didn't go deep enough to actually cause any, to make it unsalvageable, but I don't know how. Maybe I pass it over, but it's such a small piece of wood. I don't know how to do this. This has been a lot of failures today. And considering how long this video is already going to be, I think I'm going to have to stop it here and go figure out, get wooden discs. I want to do this properly, even though I've already screwed up enough that it won't be proper. I want to at least make it so that it is put together properly and plays. So even if it's not the correct absolute size, that I can fix. I'll just take maybe one string off or something. But I want it to actually play. And if I can't put these two pieces on properly so that the plywood actually sits where it's supposed to sit, it will not play. So I need to do that first. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to figure out how to cut these properly for the next video. So I'm going to stop for now. Yeah. I don't know. I've been working on this for a while. I am going to get this project finished. I want to get it done properly. So I'm going to figure out, maybe I'll get some wood cut-off discs for my Dremel, because I just need to remove that little bit. The bigger piece I can do on that router table. The bigger piece is large enough that I can actually go on the router table and do that, and without fear that I'm going to hurt myself. But that little one, that's the one that scares me doing that. I don't want to use the router table with that little one. So I guess we'll be back with another video in, I think the next one of this I'm going to put out is probably going to be April 1st. But I'm going to have another video. In the meantime, I got a Smith Blade Light from the Kickstarter. So I'm going to use this in a review. I've been using it for about a week now, so I'm going to use it for a couple more weeks and then make a review of it. So you can look forward to that, but I'm going to continue doing this. It's just going to take a little longer than I thought, or a lot longer than I thought. But as for why it takes so long, I have very limited time. So I work full time. I have kids. I want to spend time with them after I'm done working on the weekends. So I have every 4 weeks, I'll have a week where I work an evening shift. And the kids are in school. So during that time, I come out to the workshop and I work. And then I go back in and I spend time with them before I start working, or while I'm working. And once every month or two, I'll get a weekend shift. So I'll have all of Friday and Monday off. And that's when I'll work in the workshop because the kids are at school. Can't spend time with them anyways. So that's when I go in the workshop. So that hopefully explains why these videos take so long, and why I am only putting it out like once a month, and why my projects take forever to make, because I don't have a lot of time. And during the time I do have, I'm new. I'm learning all of these things from scratch. So I'm still figuring out everything. I know very, very basic woodworking stuff, enough to put a shelf together. That's about it. Oh man, the CNC machine would be perfect for this. I have a CNC machine coming in. That would be perfect for cutting those ledges out. Ah, man. If I had it now, I could use it, but I can't, I don't. Maybe it'll get here before the next video comes out, and that's how I'll do it. I don't know. So thanks for tuning in. If you like, leave a comment, leave a like, subscribe. If you know how I could do this better, help me. I want help. There's a lot more experienced people out there who know how to do all this stuff. Give me your knowledge so that I can learn without making all of these mistakes. Granted, that's the whole point of this channel, is I make tons of mistakes. So whatever, I'll see you next time. So thanks for tuning.